Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play the entirety of this video, and then I'll go back and talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on, and talk about things that I think that were done right and or done wrong. Without further ado, here we go.
Hello, my name is Matt Clark, and I'm a lieutenant in the Denver Police Department's Major Crimes Division. This critical incident debriefing is intended to provide you with information regarding an officer-involved shooting incident that occurred at 10th Avenue and Inca Street in Denver on September 9th, 2020. You are about to see relevant video footage and learn about other evidence and police procedures related to the case so you have an understanding of the details of this incident. The use of deadly force by a police officer demands a thorough investigation be completed. The Denver Police Department is committed to ensuring a full and timely investigation of these serious incidents. This allows for a comprehensive examination of the officer's actions to determine compliance with state statutes and department policies. In accordance with legislation passed in 2015, the investigation of police shootings in Denver are conducted by a multi-agency investigative team made up of members from the Denver and Aurora Police Department homicide units, as well as the Denver District Attorney's Office. All critical incident investigations are actively monitored by the Office of the Independent Monitor. A word of caution: the images and information you are about to see may be disturbing. When a police officer uses force to arrest a suspect or defend against an attack, it can be graphic and difficult to watch. In addition, there may be strong language used by those shown in the video. Viewer discretion is advised. On Wednesday, September 9th, 2020, around 5 p.m., Denver police officers responded to a call involving a male walking in the area of West 10th Avenue and Inca Street with a handgun in his hand. While officers were responding to this initial call for service, multiple people called 911 to report observing the same person. In total, 15 calls were received by the Denver Communications Center regarding the actions of this individual.
Hello, Denver 911. What is the address of your emergency?
Hi, I'm on Inca and 11th, and there's a dude walking around waving a handgun around. He just pointed it at me.
Tell me exactly what's happening.
There is a young, middle-aged man with a gun. I think he's got some mental health problems. I've seen him around here before, and he seems to be threatening people with a gun.
Someone came by to warn us and told us that there was someone with a gun. There was a man with a gun, and he was waving it around at the park down the street.
Yeah, there's a guy pulling a gun at people, so I just want to...
Okay, is he on foot?
Pointed at a couple of people. Yeah, he's on foot. He's raising his hands all over the place.
I just saw a man holding a handgun, waving it around and wandering down the street and yelling kind of profanities.
There's someone with a gun waving it around.
There's a person in the street shouting at motorists as they're driving by. I don't know if he's drunk or on drugs or what.
We had some folks here in the cat shelter, and when they went out to the parking lot, they heard gunshots and came back in.
There's a man in the middle of the intersection. He is kind of like waving his arms around, like asking cars to like come at him or come hit him. Somebody said that he has a gun in his hand.
I'd like to report an individual with a handgun out.
Okay, where at?
Pointing it all around.
Hey, we got a guy over here on 10th and Santa Fe with a gun in his hand.
Okay.
Walking down the street.
I was on Santa Fe and 12th, and a Hispanic gentleman crossing the street against the light pulled a gun on all the cars.
I just heard what sounded like a series of gunshots.
We had some crazy guy out in the street yelling, and he just fired his gun off about 8-10 rounds.
Officer Kyle Saunier and Officer Linnea Vento were working together in a patrol assignment and were the first officers to arrive in the area. These officers were wearing a standard Denver Police Department uniform and were using an unmarked police SUV. When the officers arrived in the area of 10th Avenue and Inca Street, they slowly approached the intersection and immediately observed the described male, who was later identified as 41-year-old Antonio Blackbear. Mr. Blackbear was seen approaching a black Ford Explorer that was parked on 10th Avenue between Santa Fe Drive and Inca Street. As the officers came to a stop at the intersection, they recognized Mr. Blackbear was holding a handgun in his right hand. Mr. Blackbear moved directly in front of the Ford Explorer and was observed pointing his handgun at the driver and passenger of that vehicle. At this time, it did not appear that Mr. Blackbear was aware of the officer's presence. Unbeknownst to the officers or the occupants of the vehicle, the handgun Mr. Blackbear possessed was an airsoft replica gun that was made to look like a Glock 17 firearm. The officers exited their vehicle and unholstered their duty handguns. Officer Saunier was on the driver's side of the unmarked police vehicle, and Officer Vento was positioned on the passenger side. About this time, a pickup truck occupied by an adult male and his child drove eastbound on West 10th Avenue from Santa Fe Drive. Mr. Blackbear pointed the handgun at the occupants of this vehicle as it went by. When the truck passed, the driver of the parked Ford Explorer slowly exited his vehicle. The driver observed Officer Vento, who immediately motioned for him to move away from the vehicle. The driver moved northbound across the street and ducked behind a parked vehicle on the north side of the street. Moments later, the other occupant of the vehicle emerged from the front passenger seat and sought cover behind the Ford Explorer. With the occupants of the vehicle in a safer position, Officer Saunier began issuing verbal commands to Mr. Blackbear.
Show me your hands!
Upon hearing the officer's commands, Mr. Blackbear turned his body toward the officers and pointed the handgun directly at them. Mr. Blackbear began walking slightly southeast across the street, which began closing the distance between Mr. Blackbear and the officers. Based upon Mr. Blackbear's non-compliance with the officer's orders and his actions with the handgun, both officers feared for their safety and discharged their weapons multiple times at Mr. Blackbear. The first rounds that were fired did not strike Mr. Blackbear. He continued moving in the direction of the officers with his arm extended towards them and the replica handgun in his hand. Officer Vento moved to a position that offered her additional cover, while Officer Saunier continued firing at Mr. Blackbear.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
Mr. Blackbear was struck by one of these rounds, and he fell to the ground on the north side of West 10th Avenue. The officers stopped firing their handguns when they believed Mr. Blackbear was no longer a threat. Officers Saunier and Vento promptly called for additional assistance and requested an ambulance respond to treat Mr. Blackbear. The responding officers approached Mr. Blackbear and immediately began rendering aid. Mr. Blackbear was transported to a local hospital by ambulance. He was pronounced deceased shortly after midnight on September 10, 2020. The handgun Mr. Blackbear possessed was moved by officers and secured in a police vehicle, where it was later recovered by investigators. Both officers involved in this incident were uniformed patrol officers assigned to the department's citywide impact team. Following a police shooting, any officers involved in the incident are separated and assigned to a supervisor once a situation is stabilized. Involved officers remain in the company of the assigned supervisor throughout the initial investigation of the incident. Through the investigation, it was determined that a total of 13 rounds were fired by the officers. Investigators recovered a replica airsoft pistol that was designed to look like a Gen 3 Glock 17 semi-automatic handgun. Investigators worked to determine Mr. Blackbear's location and actions prior to the incident on 10th Avenue. Video from the light rail station at Colfax Avenue and Auraria Parkway captured Mr. Blackbear walking up to and boarding a light rail train with the replica handgun in his right hand. Mr. Blackbear exited the train at 10th Avenue and Osage Street. Video in the 900 block of Calumet Street captured Mr. Blackbear walking with the handgun in his hand as he began walking eastbound on 10th Avenue. All officers assigned to uniform patrol duties have been issued body-worn cameras. These devices are generally worn at chest level by patrol officers and are capable of recording both audio and video. Prior to being activated by the officer, the body-worn camera maintains a 30-second video buffer. Once the officer activates the camera, the 30-second video buffer is captured and the camera starts recording both audio and video. It is important to note that a body-worn camera captures a general perspective of what is in the camera's view. However, this footage may or may not be what the officer actually saw or perceived. At times, an officer's movement or hand positioning may inadvertently block the camera's view. Additionally, the camera may not capture light in the same way as an officer's eye. Here is the raw video footage that was captured by the involved officers' body-worn cameras. Again, viewer discretion is advised.
Show me your hands! Get your...
Shots fired!
Impact 10, I need an ambulance, code 10. We've got the party down. Officers, shots fired.
Show me your hands! Get your hands up!
Get some cover with him.
10. Can you jump? Subject down. Shots fired.
We're good, Vento. You good?
You're good, Kyle?
Okay, yes. Yes, officers are good. We've got the party still at gunpoint. We need something so we can go check him. I cannot get to him yet. I do not know where the gun is at.
Down there?
Yes, he's down right here. Okay. I can't see his hands. I don't know if anyone's hit over here. Right now, the point of aim is westbound. Are you guys okay? Thank you. Yes. Impact 10, we are approaching the party.
No, give me a second. Stay right there. You ready?
Yes.
All right, let's go.
Okay. Kyle, you good?
Yes.
Okay.
Bro, show me your hands.
Let me see your hands.
Get your hands up.
Denver police, let me see your hands. Let me see your hands.
I got the gun right there.
It's under his leg.
Okay.
I'll go hands.
Okay.
Go hands.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see if we can get some good stuff going here, guys.
Take off the backpack. Start assistance, medical.
Get some gloves on.
Okay. He has money in his hands. You good, Nate? Okay. You're okay. Just put him back here.
Get him
Okay,
on the
gun.
ground, track him. Yeah.
Good shot, Nate. Okay. You're okay. You're okay, buddy. We're gonna get you some help. Denver police. Stay with us.
Mike, are they good over there?
We have a
Thank you. Can we check if they're okay? Thank you, Mike. Do you know where your passenger's at?
Let me get a knife. Let me get a knife.
Thank you.
Start cutting his
Get some
clothes off.
CPR and him going.
Start his clothes off.
Let's get him rolled over.
Cut his
Here's a
clothes
knife.
off. Yeah.
Okay. Stay with us, sir. Officer Bento, Denver Police. We're getting you medical assistance. Stay with us, sir.
Other one.
Watch the backpack. I'm going to talk to the victim.
Where's he hit?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either. Cut this off completely. Should just be the one.
Yeah.
Terrible. Okay, so he's got
Nate, you need some gloves.
here. Okay. So you checking his back? You're just gonna roll him back.
For one thing, do we need anyone else down there?
Let's see if in there. Let's just roll him back. Okay.
Impact 10, I believe we're good.
Impact 10, I believe we're good.
We got medics coming.
I just need my medics. Everyone else can go Coconine, please.
Get his pants open. They're gonna want to get him totally stripped. So. Your knife is better, Kyle.
Yeah.
He's cuffed back here? Yeah, he's cuffed. Okay.
Just gotta keep the roads
Hey,
open.
wait.
Make sure no one's blocking the roads.
Okay.
I hear it coming in.
There it is.
Nate, nobody else?
Hold that in.
No.
Car's coming in. Just make sure you leave a space for the ambulance to get back up.
Who can follow the bus?
I got it.
Thank you. Whoever's got it, thank you.
He's got a couple of head wounds there, Max. Yeah. How many patients do we have?
One. Him.
Seven or is nine good?
Right now, we got enough cars.
Did someone say code 9?
Can we start getting witness statements? Start getting witnesses. Hey, Kyle, what do you need?
I need these guys checked on over here. That was our line of fire.
What do you mean?
So on the other side of the bus, there's Jack. So when we showed up, he had these guys at gunpoint turned on us. So I just want to make sure everyone over there is okay.
Okay, do we have witnesses over there,
I
too?
believe so. Who's that?
Grab this for me, sir.
Of course, man.
You want me to ride in the back?
Yeah. You know, if you don't mind, you have a partner.
I got a partner.
Thank you.
Here we go. Ready to put this down? Got that in.
Where do I grab?
Okay, switch me. Lift it straight up, Kyle.
Okay. Down.
Just so you guys have.
Show me your hands!
Shots fired! Shots fired! Sir, step away! Step away! Can we get some cars here? Sir, get behind a car, please! Good job, Kyle.
Show me your hands! Get your hands up!
Send us some cars. We're at Inca 10th and Inca. Subject down. Shots fired. You're good, Kyle? We have a Ford that's a victim car. It's going to be Colorado 743 Edward Ocean Victor. 2 victims. Sir, come back here, please. Move back. So we have a weapons call that came out. He had the Ford, 2 at gunpoint. When we gave commands, he turned around and shots fired.
So there's somebody in that Ford there?
You had a victim vehicle, a passenger in your vehicle, sir? Okay.
Are you guys okay?
Come back this way behind the GMC. Yes, he was the driver.
Victim?
Victim driver, correct.
Who's this guy?
Suspect,
Anybody else in the car?
passenger ran into the building, what he's saying.
Okay, so we think the car's...
Yes, we just want to clear him and secure the weapon. Okay? Kyle, you good? Yes. Okay.
Go, show me your hands!
Don't move!
Get your hands up! Denver police, let me see your hands! Let me see your hands!
I'll go hands.
Okay?
I'll go hands.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Take off the backpack. Start assistance, medical.
Get some gloves on.
Okay. He has money in his hands. You're good, Nate? Okay. You're okay. Just put him back here. Okay, gun. Good shot, Nate. Okay. You're okay. You're okay, buddy. We're going to get you some help. Denver police. Stay with us. Impact 10. We have medics coming 10, correct?
Can we check if
We located the weapon.
Thank you, Mike. Do you know where your passenger's at?
Let me get a knife. Let me get a knife.
Thank you.
Start cutting his clothes off. Start his clothes off. Let's get him rolled over.
Here's the knife. Okay. Stay with us, sir. Officer Bento, Denver Police. We're getting you medical assistance. Stay with us, sir. Thank you.
Another one.
Watch the backpack. I'm going to talk to the victim. Where's my partner?
Are you Vento?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi.
I'm Detective Andrews.
Hi, Andrews.
Is your body camera on or off?
Yes, it's still on.
Okay, you can turn it off.
Okay.
Scene's secure.
15073.
The Denver District Attorney will review the details of this incident and determine if the officer's actions were in compliance with Colorado law. After the District Attorney renders a decision, the Denver Police Department's Internal Affairs Bureau and Conduct Review Bureau will complete an administrative review of this case. The details of the case will be presented to a Use of Force Review Board, which is made up of community members and police command officers. The board will determine whether the officer's actions were in compliance with the high standards expected of every Denver police officer related to policies, training, and tactics. For additional information regarding the investigation of critical incidents or the Denver Police Department's use of force policies, you may visit denvergov.org/police. Thank you for taking the time to view this critical incident briefing.
All right, let's get into it. So going back into the beginning phase of it.
Calls were received by the Vento were working together in a patrol assignment and were the first officers to arrive in the area. Using the street, they slowly approached the intersection with Antonio Blackbear. Mr. Blackbear was seen approaching a black Ford Explorer that was parked on 10th Avenue between Santa Fe Drive and Inca Street. As the officers came to a stop at the intersection, they recognized Mr. Blackbear was holding a handgun in his right hand. Mr. Blackbear moved directly in front of the Ford Explorer and was observed pointing his handgun at the driver and passenger of that vehicle. At this time, it did not appear that Mr. Blackbear was aware of the officer's presence. Unbeknownst to the officers or the occupants of the vehicle, the handgun Mr. Blackbear possessed.
So this handgun looks extremely real. Now, the magazine, obviously, you can tell is fake or is not of a real firearm. But this right here, just from a distance, there's absolutely no way whatsoever that you could look at this and say, oh, well, that's a toy gun. Oh, that's just a BB gun. This thing looks completely real. Now, I have not seen a whole lot of pistols with this type of wear on it. I have seen slide stops right here. Slide stop release levers right here get worn down and look similar to this. I haven't seen any guns on the slide look this beat up before. But, from a distance, even up close, even from this photo, it is hard to tell. And there's actually another
airsoft replica gun that
actually, here's a pretty good, this plastic right here for the frame itself. I mean, it looks almost like the same kind of plastic on the real Glock.
Was made to look like a Glock 17 firearm. The officers exited their vehicle and unholstered their duty handguns. Officer Saunier was on the driver's side of the unmarked police vehicle, and Officer Vento was positioned on the passenger side, and his child drove eastbound occupants of this vehicle as it went by. When the truck passed, the driver of the parked Ford Explorer slowly exited his vehicle. The driver observed Officer Vento, who immediately motioned for him to move away from the vehicle. The driver moved northbound across the street and ducked behind a parked vehicle on the north side of the street. Moments later, the other occupant of the vehicle emerged from the front passenger seat and sought cover behind the Ford Explorer. With the occupants of the vehicle in a safer position, Officer Saunier began issuing verbal commands to Mr. Blackbear.
Show me your hands!
Upon hearing the officer's commands, Mr. Blackbear turned his body toward the officers and pointed the handgun directly at them. Mr. Blackbear began walking slightly southeast across the street, which began closing the distance between Mr. Blackbear and the officer.
Now, this kind of distance involved, there is absolutely no freaking way anyone would have been able to look at what was in his hand in this very quick, this fast, dynamic situation and say, oh, well, that's just a BB gun. It looks completely real. So when it comes to the use of force here, obviously no problems whatsoever with use of force. I mean, it looks completely real. Any reasonable-minded person, in my opinion, would have the reasonable belief that this was a real firearm, and you would have to act accordingly. It sucks that in these instances where someone has a BB gun or a fake gun, it's not real, and deadly force has to be used against them, but it happens, and you can't take a few extra seconds to try and study super hard what's in their hand when they're pointing this thing at you, and it could be real. And while you're trying to ascertain whether or not it's real or fake, boom, you get shot, or boom, your partner gets shot. So there is no, and it's when you say it out loud, you can almost hear the other people saying like, "Oh, that's wrong." But when you say you can't take that extra time to study it, there are some people who are going to hear that and think that's wrong. And trying to show it to them, show them the light, can almost be like talking to a brick wall. But there's just no way with this distance involved. Even if he was up here, or even here at the hood of the car, I mean, that super close, that gun looking so super real, there's no way to know. In a fast, dynamic, split-second decision kind of moment, there's just no way to know. And so using deadly physical force is appropriate in this scenario and other scenarios like this.
Based upon Mr. Blackbear's non-compliance with the officers' order to charge their weapons multiple times, he continued moving in the direction of the officers with his arm extended and offered her additional. The officer saw near Blackbear. Mr. possessed was moved by officers. And
so here's another angle. Of course, looking at the magazine, you can tell it's fake. But even from this angle right here, I mean, it looks just damn near identical to a real Glock 17 pistol.
Secured in a police vehicle where it was...
Even right here. I mean, this legitimately looks like the same plastic that the real gun is made out of with the frame. It looks almost identical.
Later recovered by investigators. Both off.
All right. So now we'll skip forward and we'll get into the actual
airsoft pistol
body cam from the first officer.
Captured Mr. Blackbear walking up to.
Well, before we do that, this is what I was wanting to find earlier. I guess it was a little bit later than what I thought. So this guy, for whatever reason, is him right here, decides to walk around in public with this realistic-looking gun in his hand.
10th Avenue and Osage Street. Video in the 900 block of Calumet Street captured Mr. Blackbear walking with the handgun in his hand as he began walking eastbound on 10th Avenue. All officers assigned to uniform patrol. He began 100 block of Calumet Street captured
the
train at 10th Avenue and Osage Street. Video in the 900 block of Calumet Street captured Mr. Blackbear in Osage Street.
Go back.
Video in the 900 block.
All right, let's check this street. There's no one here. At least that I can tell. Could there be someone behind this little bush kind of thing behind the car and it's just blocking them really well? Possibly. But, and then there's this car that, you know, presumably came from this direction since it's right there, pointing that way. Watch his body language.
Block of Calumet Street captured Mr. Black.
Who the fuck is he talking to? I mean, like, this makes me think this is a mental health issue. Like, this guy is just batshit crazy.
Bear walking with the handgun in his hand as he began 100 block of Calumet Street captured Mr. Blackbear.
Like, there is literally no one that I can see. The only people I see are some of these people in these vehicles driving. There's no one on foot. It doesn't appear as though anyone is in these vehicles right here.
walking with the hand. Video in the 900 block of Calumet Street captured Mr. Blackbear walking with the handgun in his hand as he began walking.
You know, mental health is a huge problem. Talking about mental health in and of itself could be a whole nother video. There are a lot of just batshit crazy people out there, and there's just a lot of them. I mean, there really is. There are people walking the streets who realistically should not be walking the streets. They should be locked up somewhere. Like, they are that fucking crazy. And I've dealt with these people before. They are truly just, I mean, they're not all there. Now, I don't know if this is for sure one of those kind of cases, but I've seen this kind of stuff before with people where it looks like they're talking to people and there's no one there. Now, this could also be a drug issue. He could be on a lot of drugs and acting this way. Without a whole lot more background information, it's really hard to tell. But I don't think that this guy is in his right mind. Either naturally he's not in his right mind, or substance-wise he is not in his right mind. He's either under the influence of some type of intoxicant, or he's just born this way, or he destroyed some brain cells from some previous drug usage. Whatever the case may be, I don't believe that he is of reasonable mind in this. Now, could this also be suicide by police? Like, could he have, from the very get-go, said, I'm going to walk around with this gun, hope someone calls the police on me, and then shoots me? Yeah, that very well could be the fact. He could have had this planned and just been walking around hoping the police would come up on him, and it, just took him so long to get there. Or this could be a mental thing, whether he's just naturally out of his mind, or previous drug use has killed some brain cells, or he's under the influence of some drugs right now. One of those three, I think, is going on. I don't, like, no reasonable person acts like this.
Block of Calumet Street captured Mr. Blackbear walking with the handgun in his hand as he began walking eastbound on worn cameras. Recording both contains a 30-second
so we'll get to
video
the first
buffer.
officer's body cam.
Recording both effective reaction. Inadvertent, same way, officers
after all that talking. So we start out, they're in the car, they're headed towards the scene. Now keep in mind that they both know they're going to a call involving a man with a gun. Now, I've replayed the video a few times. Once he starts to get out of the vehicle, it does not appear as though they have a rifle or long gun in the front cab of their vehicle. Is there a possibility that they had a long gun in the cargo hold of their vehicle? Possibly, but I don't know that for sure. If they did, in fact, have a long gun in the cargo area of their vehicle, then I think that they should have stopped for one of them to get out and grab it and have it up front with them, so that when they did get on scene, they could get out with a long gun in hand. Too many times we see videos of officers responding to calls, knowingly responding to calls where there is gunplay involved, and all they do is show up with pistols. Rifles will stop fights a lot faster and harder than a pistol ever can dream of. Pistol ammunition sucks. The only reason we carry pistols is because they can kill, even though they suck. But they are more comfortable and more convenient than a damn rifle. You can carry a pistol on you for 8, 10, 12, 16 hours out of the day, every day of the week. and it doesn't affect you very much. Try carrying a rifle for 8 hours a day. That shit sucks. In an office setting, are you going to be carrying that rifle with you all the time? You're going to set it by the door. So there's the security issue with it. Like the pistol is in your holster. You can go anywhere you want to with that pistol in your holster, and it remains secured. A rifle, you have to keep it on you to maintain security over it. So you just can't set it down anywhere you want. Now, in the context of police, if you get to the police station, yeah, sure, you can take it off and set it by the door or put it in a rifle rack. But other than that, it's going to be on you, and then the muzzle's going to be hitting shit as you walk down the hallway or in an office setting, you knock shit over with it, etc. Inside the vehicle, it gets in the way, you get out, you get on foot, you start dealing with things. It's just, a rifle is very cumbersome and inconvenient, but damn it, it will knock a fight out real quick. It'll knock someone's dick in the dirt real fast. Pistols, like I said, pistol ammunition sucks. It can kill. It's killed lots of people, but when you compare pistol to rifles, man, they're the champs. There's not many people who walk away from being shot with a rifle, whereas there's been plenty of people who've walked away from being shot with a pistol. So, don't know if they had a rifle in the cargo area of their vehicle, but if they did, they should have stopped so that the passenger could get out, grab it, get back in the cab, and get it ready for the fight. Now, he starts to get his gun out as they're approaching the scene. They're about to come to a stop. So his gun's out. Her gun is out as well. Now, he actuates the gear selector with his gun hand. Not a big fan of that. I think he could have used his non-dominant hand just to reach over the steering wheel and grab that versus monkey around with this while still holding a gun. Too much risk there of messing with stuff with the gun hand and the gun just coming loose. It's a whole lot safer to do it with your non-dominant hand. So I wouldn't recommend trying to go into park or drive with your gun in your hand. Use your other free hand to do that. Now, he does have a red dot on there, and this is where I did pause the video multiple times to kind of look in this little area. It does not appear as though there's a rifle. Excuse me. It does not appear as though there's a rifle or a shotgun within this space. But anyway, he's got that red dot on his pistol. Now, we don't get to see a whole lot anymore from his angle during this initial gunfight because most of everything that we need to see is blocked by the dashboard on this vehicle. But we do get to see how she reacts. So that was her motioning. If you remember, the driver of that SUV started to walk away from it. So the suspect at this point has his back turned to them. He hasn't realized they're here yet. And you'll see her doing a hand waving motion, telling that driver to keep on moving. And the bad guy hasn't noticed yet until he starts yelling right there. So that's when he turned and pointed the gun at them.
Shots fired.
Impact 10, I need an ambulance. Code 10, we've got the party down. Officers, shots fired. Show me your hands! Get your hands up! Get some cover with him.
So he recognizes that they need to get behind cover until some more people get there.
Okay,
now,
yes.
one thing I would have liked
Yes,
to have seen is a magazine change. expended some rounds. He needs to put a new magazine in the gun and get it ready for some more fighting. Anytime that we fight, back this up. Alright.
Show me your hands!
So we're fighting.
Shots fired.
It's hard to say. He fired somewhere between 7 to 10 rounds. It's really hard to say how many he fired, but he fired quite a few. Now at this point, he's fought. Now he's assessing his target. His target's down.
Impact 10, I need a
Scanning. You need to scan your area, make sure there aren't any other bad guys with guns. He's behind cover, so he's taking cover. Now he needs to top off. He needs to top this gun off and get it ready for the fight again, if need be. So that's what we call the FAST protocol: fight, assess, scan, top off. And then, of course, there's more T's into it: take cover, treat injuries, talk. But doing a magazine change is an important component to this, because bad guys do not always work alone, and he could have had a buddy with him in this potential robbery scheme right here that they did not see, and the buddy could have popped out from over here and start shooting, and he would only have maybe 5 more rounds left potentially. A lot fewer than what he would be able to start out with. So it's always best after you fight, you assess your target. Are they down? If it's safe enough to scan, look for more targets if need be, and then top that magazine off. Get a fresh mag in the gun. That way, if you have to fight some more, you're starting with a fresh mag, not a half depleted one.
ambulance, code 10. We've got the party down. Officers, shots fired.
Show me your hands! Get your hands up!
So he recognizes they need to get behind cover for more people to arrive. Not a bad decision.
Good then, so you good?
I like that. Wait for more people with more guns to show
Yes,
up.
officers are good. When is that? I don't know if that name is well.
If it takes minutes for people to get there, then you know what? It takes several minutes for people to get there. There's nothing says that you have to move up within a minute to get hands-on with someone. If it takes someone 5 minutes to get there to back your ass up, then guess what? It takes 5 minutes for someone to get there to back your ass up, and then that person's bleeding out for that 5 minutes. Oh well. They fucking brought that shit upon themselves. They can sit there and bleed out. You go home at the end of shift. So if it takes 5 minutes for you to get the proper amount of backup there, then that's what it takes. It takes 5 minutes. Oh well.
Thank you! Yes. Yes.
Alright, so other people get there, and then they make the approach. Don't know how long it took. I'm not going to go back and count the minutes.
Yes. Bro, show me your hands!
Let me see your hands!
Get your hands up!
Denver police, let me see your hands!
Now, at this point, they know they're going to have to go hands-on with this guy, and none of them have put gloves on. I think it would have been better if they had said, hey, hold on before we approach, you guys get your gloves on. That way, when you start putting your hands on someone who's got blood all over them, you've got gloves on to protect yourself from any bloodborne pathogens these people may have. And when you're dealing with people who have blood or other bodily fluids on them, you have to assume that they have some type of bloodborne pathogen, especially when you're dealing with bad people. Bad guys obviously don't make good decisions in life. Hence why they're bad guys, right? So when it comes to other things in their life, you have to assume that they've made bad decisions there. They've had unprotected sex with lots of questionable people. They've shared needles, etc. So you have to assume that this guy has AIDS. He has hepatitis. You have to assume the worst case scenario. And you want to keep yourself protected and your family protected. You don't want to bring AIDS home. You don't want to bring hepatitis home. That's going to change your whole life. So put gloves on before dealing with bloody people. And in this instance, like I said, they had the people there. One of them could have said, hey, you guys need to glove up before we go hands-on with them.
Let me see your hands!
I got the gun right there.
It's under his leg.
Okay.
I'll go hands.
Okay.
Go hands.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see if we can get some good stuff going here, guys.
Take off the backpack. Start.
Notice the tourniquet on the leg drop here for the taser. So I like seeing tourniquets on officers. You don't see that everywhere. You do see it in some places. I like the fact that they're carrying tourniquets on them.
Medical.
Get some gloves on.
Okay. He has money in his hands. You good, Nate? Hey, you're okay. Just put him back here. Hey, gun.
Yeah.
Good shot, Nate. Okay. You're okay. You're okay, buddy. We're gonna get you some help. Denver Police. Stay with us.
Mike, are they good over there? Thank you.
So he's asking, are they good over there? And what he's referring to is the people over here towards the direction where they shot at. So he's and this is not the first time that he is cognizant of the fact that there's people back there and they need to be checked on. So anytime there's a shooting, especially in an urban environment, you always want to check the backdrop where bullets, may have missed the target and then went to. And when it comes to this line of work, there are oftentimes going to be some missed rounds. I'm sure that there's some cases out there where every round fired, they were all completely accounted for. Probably mostly, these cases where one shot was fired and it went to the person. Those obviously, but let's say, in cases where, the officer fired multiple rounds. In those cases, when multiple rounds are fired, there may be a few cases out there where all rounds hit target, but there's going to be a lot more where 1 or 2 rounds completely missed. And that's normal. Should it be normal? No. Every round should be accounted for. But in these very quick, dynamic, deadly force situations, it happens. And we have to be aware of the fact that it's happening, it will happen, and you need to check that backdrop for anyone who may have been hit by a stray round. Because while you're spending 10 minutes dicking around with this guy, some person in the background who got hit is laying on the ground bleeding out. And we don't want good people dying. So always check your backdrop. Make sure that the people who were behind the bad guy are safe. There's no more gunshot victims there. And like I said, this is not the first time that he does that. He'll do it again,
Do you know where your
2 more
passenger's
times,
at?
I think.
Let me get a knife.
Thank you.
Start cutting his
Get some
clothes off.
CPR on him going.
Start his clothes off.
Now, let me back this up. So he is cuffing him,
Start cutting his clothes off.
and that is a pretty standard response anywhere in the nation after police shoot someone. Kind of going back to what I talked about earlier about rifles being better than pistols. Pistol ammunition, although they will kill, they don't have a higher success rate like rifles do. And so there's been plenty of times where someone has been shot with a pistol and they went down, but then they got back up and were able to get back in the fight. One famous case that is basically referenced a lot in firearms training, especially within the law enforcement community, is the FBI Miami Shootout back in the 80s. FBI agents were following a couple of bank robbers, and they went to initiate a traffic stop on them, and they stopped, and then boom, gunfight broke out. In the beginning stages of this gunfight, one of the bank robbers took a round to the head and went unconscious temporarily. He was able to wake back up and get back in the fight, crawl out of his vehicle, and crawl into an FBI agent's vehicle and try to take off in it. His partner, right in the beginning of the gunfight, took a fatal hit through the side of his chest. The round went through the side of his chest and landed not all the way dab smack in the middle of his heart, but went into his heart, pericardial sac. And it was a round that was going to kill him. He was going to die from that, but it did not immediately incapacitate him. So he was able to continue with the fight, and he actually got shot multiple more times after that. And he was able to go on and kill 2 FBI agents and wound others, severely wound others. And he got shot multiple times with pistol and shotgun, and took those multiple hits before he finally went down for the count. So it's pretty common, like I said, for police to go ahead and cuff someone after they've been shot, because there's been many times where a person who's been shot, they either wake back up and start fighting, or they were down for a little bit and were not willing to fight anymore, but then as time passed and the pain started wearing away, or they got more mental confidence, whatever, they started to become more aggressive and start fighting. So it's a whole lot harder for someone to effectively fight you when their hands are cuffed behind their back. And this is why you see this happening.
Start his clothes off. Let's get him rolled over. Get his clothes off. Yeah.
Alright, so I think this dude has a headshot. It's hard to say for sure, but I think he has a head wound. You can hear some of that gasping. Here's a little spot right here that makes me think that. I think that's some deformed skull right here. But you hear some raspy breathing.
Start cutting his clothes off. Start his clothes off.
So that right there, that kind of noise.
CPR on him going. Start his clothes off. Let's get him rolled over.
So that's called agonal breathing. That's not good. This guy, he's for sure going to be dying.
Stay with us, sir. Officer Benjamin.
So that's an airway issue for him. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about the medical stuff here in a little bit. But they're trying to get his clothes off to assess his injuries. Now, I am not a big fan of using blades like this to remove clothing.
Please, we're getting you medical assistance.
So you got to think, right up in here is that other officer, and here's his blade. He's cutting towards the other officer. There's actually a moment here where he does kind of a ripping motion upwards with the knife.
Other one?
Right here, I think it comes. Yeah, so that right there. We play that.
Other one?
So watch that blade. It goes way out of view. One more time.
Other one?
Boom. So that blade went far out of view towards that other officer. That's too dangerous in my opinion. Don't put other people at risk just trying to cut someone's clothes off. Shears obviously are a great tool to have to be able to cut clothes. They're also they're not bulky, but their size makes it a little difficult to put them on uniforms and stuff. Yes, you can have them on an outer vest with a bunch of moly webbing on there and stuff. But for a vest that doesn't have all those, and you only got some fixed pouches or whatever, just the size alone of them can make it a little difficult to stick them somewhere. And there's something that you'll more traditionally see in an actual first aid kit. So this is where I think a rescue hook would really shine on being able to keep on you. A rescue hook, there's a company called Benchmade that makes something called I think it's called a J-hook, but it's basically a heavy-duty seatbelt cutter, essentially. It's got a J-shaped kind of hook on there. It's very sharp, And if you can cut through the thicker or more heavy-duty nylon webbing of a seatbelt, then you can obviously cut through a shirt very easily with it. I've used a J-hook before to cut through clothing, cut through pants, and cut through a sweater. Works great. And I think that it works a little bit faster than shears, because, you know, shears are basically like beefed up scissors, and you got to do this little cutting motion, you know, just cutting along, trying to cut the fabric. The hook, you just grab the clothes, kind of like they're grabbing it, and you just hook it, and you just rip with it, and it will glide right through the clothing and cut it no problem. Those are better alternatives to cutting clothing than using an open blade knife like this and then cutting towards your partners. The other downside to using an open blade like this is you could actually cut the person while you're trying to cut the clothes off of them and cause more injuries. So open blades, not the best thing to cut clothes. If it's your last ditch option, it's your last ditch option. But you shouldn't just leave it as your last ditch option. You should, in my opinion, have shears or a J-hook available to you to be able to cut clothing off.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know either. Cut this off completely.
Should just be.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's got
Nate, you need some gloves.
here.
Okay.
So you're checking his back, you're just going to roll him back.
There's nothing we need anyone else down there.
I don't see anything there, let's just roll him back. Okay?
Impact 10, I believe.
Impact 10, I believe we're good.
You got medics coming.
I just need my medics. Everyone else can go Coconine, please.
Get his pants open, they're going to want to get him totally stripped.
All right, now when it comes to the pants, if they don't have shackles on, then there's no reason why you should be cutting the pants all the way off. All you got to do is grab them by the waist and just tug them down. That's it. That's all you got to do for pants. I don't see why you should exert more energy trying to cut down a pant leg when you just grab them by the waist and just tug them down. Tugging them down works a hell of a lot faster than sitting there cutting away with a pair of shears or trying to rip at them with a knife or a J-hook. Just tug the damn things down. Now, shirts aren't that easy, especially once you put the cuffs on. You kind of have to have some type of cutting tool to remove the clothing or the torso clothing from a person. Pants, all you gotta do is grab those things and rip downwards. That's it.
Yeah. He's cuffed back here?
Yeah, he's cuffed.
Okay. Just gotta keep the roads open. Make sure no one's blocking the roads.
Okay.
I hear it coming in.
There it is. No.
Cars coming in, just make sure you leave the space.
Who can follow the bus?
Yeah. How many patients do we have?
One. Him. That was our line of fire.
What do you mean?
So on the other side, I need these guys checked on over here. That was our line of fire.
What do you mean?
So on the other side of the bus, there's Jack. So when we showed up, he had these guys at gunpoint turned on us.
So again, he's talking about the backdrop to where they fired at. And there's quite a few vehicles over here. There could have been, some people hanging out in their cars, smoking during their break or something like that. We see a bunch of people standing out here. Now, I'm sure they probably showed up after gunshots were fired and after all the sirens were heard. I highly doubt these people were hanging out to begin with out here. Can't tell what kind of business this is, but it's some type of businesses right here. And, these people are now congregating, watching what's going on. But it doesn't mean that when the shooting happened, there couldn't have been a couple people back here on a work break, smoking or taking trash out to a dumpster somewhere over in here or something like that. So, as I said earlier, it's very important that after a shooting, you go check that backdrop area and make sure that there was no one back there and no one took around.
So I just want to make sure everyone over there.
Because even if you do hit a person all rounds, that doesn't mean that all rounds stayed in their body. One round could have been a through and through. It went all the way through them and kept on going.
Okay, do we have witnesses over there, too?
I believe so.
And that's another good point, too, is witnesses.
Yeah. You know, if you don't mind, you have a partner. I got a partner. Thank you.
Here we go. Ready to put this down? Step that in.
Where do I grab?
Okay, switch me. Lift it straight up, cop.
Okay. Down.
See, this guy has a tourniquet on the back of his belt right here, which I don't think this is a police. I think this might be a medic.
See you guys head.
Alright, so this guy, he turned his camera off right afterward. Alright, so right down in here, this appears to be a first aid kit. Now, we'll talk about medical care. So if you're going to carry the tools to induce trauma, you should also be carrying the tools to reduce trauma. When I talk about medical gear, I talk about medical gear from the perspective of stuff that you carry on you that you can immediately use right then and there. And then there's other medical gear that would be like in your vehicle or something like that as a supplement to what you carry on you. And I'll break that down as first line medical gear and second line medical gear. So first line medical gear is on you. And that's going to be in the form of like a tourniquet, a thing of compressed gauze, a nasopharyngeal airway, a pressure bandage, little things like that to deal with hemorrhaging and airway. Those are critical things to carry on you. If you take a round into your femoral artery, then you can bleed out very quick. And so it makes sense to have a tourniquet on you. That way it's on you. You don't have to wait for anyone to get it. You just take it off of you and you immediately apply it. Or, a friend or a coworker gets hurt or a loved one, it's on you right then and there. You don't have to wait on someone to bring something to you, and you don't have to run a certain distance to grab the kit out of your car and then run back, because you can bleed out very quickly from an arterial bleed. So those things you carry on you. Your second line medical gear is your medical kit that you would keep in the trunk of your car or the back of your truck or SUV, whatever, to supplement what you have on you. In my opinion, first line medical gear should be reserved just for you, your team, or your family. And the only way that you ever use your first line gear on anyone else other than your team or family is when you are confident, super confident, that there is no more fighting to be done. Otherwise, everyone else can either wait on the ambulance or they can wait on the second line medical gear to get there. For example, let's say you're working, either law enforcement or security, whatever, dealing with a call, and you get into a gunfight with a person, and you shoot them, and they go down, and you come up on them, cuff them up, you see they got an arterial hit in the leg or something like that, and you go ahead and put your tourniquet on them. Well, their buddy comes around the corner, and then they start shooting it out with you and your partner, and then you or your partner get hit in the leg, and you got a femoral hit. Well, what do you do then if the only tourniquet you had in play, you just put on the first bad guy, and your partner's there shot in the leg, bleeding the same way. What are you going to do? You going to take that tourniquet off that other person and put it on your partner? The better thing is you reserve that and you put it on your partner. So, first line medical gear is for you, your team, and your family. Everyone else, in my opinion, can wait for an ambulance or wait for a second line medical gear. The only time they use that first line gear on someone is when you are super confident that there is no more fighting to be had. Because if you use it and fighting starts again, then what do you have to use? What's there? Nothing, because you just use it on someone. Second line medical gear can be a big bag that has additional medical stuff in there, additional trauma gear, and or some boo-boo gear. I would recommend keeping your trauma bag separate from your boo-boo bag. Now, you may be asking, what's a boo-boo bag? A boo-boo bag is your basic first aid kit, stuff with Band-Aids in it. We all know a Band-Aid is not going to help a gunshot wound or a knife wound, right? But there are times you need Band-Aids. So an actual first aid kit, something that you would get from the CVS or Walmart or something like that, that has mostly Band-Aids and like a little gauze and tweezers and stupid shit like that in there. That's your boo-boo kit. Keep that. I recommend you keep that separate from your trauma bag. Your trauma bag has stuff for dealing with traumatic injuries in there. Now, you could put your boo-boo kit in the trauma bag. I don't recommend it, but it's you, so do what you do. Medical gear can be expensive, especially when it comes to tourniquets. I would much rather spend money on medical gear and it sit there and never be used than not spend any money on it and I have a damn need for it, but it's not there, and then someone that I love or care for dies. Or I die, and the people who love and care about me have to deal with me dying at an early age, unexpectedly. So, if your company or your agency provides the medical stuff, great. Not many places do. If your company or your agency only provides a first aid kit because it's some type of minimum requirement that they have to do, then hey, it sucks, but there are a lot of places that will only do that. They'll only put a first aid kit in the car or in the office, and sometimes they'll wrap tape around it or wrap some yarn around it and say don't use because they have to keep it there for some type of policy requirement. But if you're the police, then chances are there are some paramedics that you see from time to time when you're at work, and you can become friends with those paramedics or have a more friendlier relationship with them, and they're probably going to be cool enough to give you some free stuff. Let's say you're building a trauma bag and you're like, I need a bag valve mask. Well, next time you see one of those medics, pretty confident you can ask them if they have an extra bag valve mask on the truck, and they'll just give it to you. And then when they get back to the ambulance station or the hospital or whatever, they'll just pull another one and replace the one that they used. Same for like gauze and medical tape and stuff like that. They got buku amounts of it on the truck. Most of them would have absolutely no problem whatsoever giving that stuff to you. And so you can stock your own trauma bag from some freebies from the ambulance service or the hospital. Other than that, just like anything else when it comes to good quality gear, you're going to have to sacrifice. If that means going a couple weeks without eating McDonald's or something like that, and you have to make some ham sandwiches at home, then damn it, enjoy those fucking ham sandwiches, save that money, and buy that mission critical gear that you're going to need that will make the difference between life and death one day. Save that money, buy that good gear, and and do it. I mean, you're working in this profession, so you know there's going to have to be some kind of sacrifices. Just do it. Just do it. Just spend the money on it, even if you don't have it. You will find a way to make ends meet. As far as actually, the providing of the medical care, that could be a whole other video in and of itself. You need to learn how to provide medical care. Most agencies, most companies will provide a CPR first aid training course. Now, whether or not you receive good training during that's who knows. It's different from area to area. You get some agencies and companies that will hire one person or not hire one person, but they'll take a person who's there, usually of rank, and they'll put them through some instructor classes. And the only reason they became an instructor is because they had a higher rank. They've been there for a while. They're probably going to be there for a while after that. And just that alone doesn't make a person a good instructor. So there's people who become instructors. They're not real true instructors. They're just checkbox kind of people. They read verbatim what's on the slide, and then they might show a couple things. But as far as getting in depth with it and being very passionate with it, it's not there. So even though you've had first aid training, it doesn't mean that it was good. It could mean that it sucked, and so you're going to have to find some additional medical training beyond that. Now, if you're an EMT or EMR, emergency medical responder, you've probably had some decent amount of training. But for anyone else, if all you've had is first aid, then I implore you to get some additional medical training. There are places you can go to in person to do it. You can watch some videos. I don't recommend all your training be based off, YouTube videos or anything like that. But there is some training you can get that you would be able to get an idea of what you need to seek out just from watching videos. And you can do that and then go to a training class in person and get those repetitions in and get that good foundational knowledge on how to provide pre-hospital mental care. And when it boils down to it, you are more likely to come across medical scenarios versus shooting scenarios. I probably have more medical gear stashed around in vehicles and around the house than I do shoot fuck people up kind of gear. Because the reality of the matter is I'm more likely to come across someone in some type of medical problem than I am dealing with a robber or kidnapper or something like that. So, medical gear, get it. Medical training, for sure, get that. Now let's move on to the second person's video. Alright, so we're rolling down the road. COVID mask on the spotlight, because COVID masks are stupid. She's got her gun out. Her gun out is ready to rock and roll. Alright, so she gets out of the vehicle. Well, the vehicle hasn't stopped yet. Let me back this up one more time. So she's got her gun out and ready. She's got that foot propping the door open. Vehicle comes to a stop. She's got her gun pointed, and she drops something. I don't know what it is. I think it's a pair of keys, but I've slowed it down, and I've tried to pause it at different times. I can't get a very good look at what it is. I think it's keys, but I'm not 100% sure. In this type of scenario where there's a guy with a gun, dropping a pair of keys means jack shit. Like, fuck those keys, leave them on the ground. You want both hands on the gun, ready for the fight. So whatever I would have dropped, unless it was my gun, I would not be taking the time to bend over and pick that shit up. I'd leave it where it's at. She gets her gun out, and then she's really wide in the open here. What I would have liked to have seen her do, since her side of the vehicle is closest to this guy. I would have liked to have seen her go to the rear of the vehicle and start taking cover behind the cargo area of the SUV and have her gun pointed at this guy. Because right now, she has absolutely no cover whatsoever. Not even the door. The door is not covered. So if you've ever gone through a vehicle tactics kind of class, and that class had a ballistics section in there where you got to shoot a vehicle or see a vehicle get shot with multiple different calibers, you'll know that a 22 long rifle will go through this door and this panel no problem whatsoever. So anything above 22 is for sure going through the damn door. The door is not covered. She should have gone to the rear of the vehicle and backed away from the vehicle some too, and present a smaller profile and have a lot better cover than just this door panel here. And at this point right here, I don't know what the hell she was doing. It looks like she started to get into the car, and then she holds her gun up and shoots. Now, I will go back to the very beginning of this video so that you can see what I'm talking about. Alright, so here she is. Alright, so we see her here.
Show me your hands!
And she shoots. Let's see her shoot one more time.
Show me your hands! Show me your hands! Show me your hands!
Yeah, that's some that's some Taliban shooting right there. Not a big fan of what I just saw right there. You're in an urban environment, lots of people around. That kind of shooting, no. Should not even be an option. So she fires over the door without looking. This is what she should have done. Well, not this part, but she should have went back in here to this vehicle to begin with. Oops, went too far. Now, you can't see it because of the way the camera's angled down.
Shots fired.
But it looks like she muzzled him as she's coming around the side.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Yeah, so you don't want to muzzle your partner.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
And then she comes up and points through the windshield and then turns back around and runs the other direction. I think in this instance, she freaked out. Her voice doesn't convey that any. She don't have that screaming, going berserko crazy kind of yell. But how she fired over the door, ran around, and pointed through the windshield, and then ran back around. I think she kind of freaked out a little bit. Didn't know exactly what to do.
Can we get some cars here?
Like I said, she's got a calm voice. She's not yelling and screaming and hyperventilating or anything.
Sir, get behind a car, please.
She's able to communicate to other people what's going on. I just think in that first initial contact that she just kind of went a little out there. It seems like she's regained herself.
We're at Inca 10th and Inca. Subject down. Shots fired. You're good, Kyle?
And again, he had already talked about getting cover. She has no cover whatsoever.
We have a Ford that's a victim car. It's going to be Colorado 743 Edward Ocean Victor. 2 victims. Sir, come back here, please. Move back. So we have a weapons call that came out. He had The Ford, 2 at gunpoint. When we gave commands, he turned around and shots fired.
So is there somebody in that Ford there?
You had a victim vehicle, passenger in your vehicle, sir? Okay. Are you guys okay? Come back this way behind the GM.
So the officers are there. They're trying to figure out what's going on. And then they're about to make the approach.
Victim driver, correct.
Who's this guy?
Suspect,
Anybody else in the car?
passenger ran into the building, what he's saying.
Okay, so we think the car's...
Yes, we just want to clear him and secure the weapon. Okay? Kyle, you good? Okay.
Go, show me your hands.
Don't move.
Get your hands up. Denver police, let me see your hands. Let me see your hands. I'll go hands.
Okay.
I'll go hands.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Take off the backpack. Start assistance, medical.
Get some gloves on.
Okay. The backpack.
So I think she's... Her voice is calm, but her words are jumbled. So listen to what she says about medical assistance.
Okay. Take off the backpack. Start assistance, medical.
Get some gloves on.
I think she's got a lot going through her head right now. A little stressed, as anyone would be. Let me back that up.
Get some gloves on.
Okay. He has money in his hands.
So money in his hands, I don't know why she's verbalizing that and why that's important.
You're good, Nate? Okay. You're okay. Just put him back here. Okay, gun.
All right. So...
You're okay. Just put him back here. Okay, gun.
And then she points her gun at the gun.
You're okay. Just put him back here. Okay, gun.
Like, what's that gun going to do? Jump up and shoot her?
Shot me. Okay. You're okay. You're okay, buddy. We're going to get you some help. Denver police. Stay with us.
So those little things right there, although her voice sounds calm, I think that internally in her head, there's a lot going on. Like, she's stressed out. She can't get the words formulated right. This would almost indicate to me that maybe she hasn't had a whole lot of reality-based training scenarios to go through, and I think that maybe internally her brain hasn't had a whole lot of these reality-based training scenario experiences to draw from, and so like her head, you know, is like a Rolodex, and it's just flipping through all the pages, going really quick. And when you know you come across an experience that you've done before, you can stop on that page, like, oh, I've experienced this before. I know what to do. And I think in some of this, the Rolodex card thing is just, it's continuously flipping, and I don't think she's come across any scenarios like this before in her life that she can be like, oh, I've done this, I know what to do. So that's where reality-based training scenarios are super important. Aside from inoculating you, or not fully inoculating you, but inoculating you from stress, it helps out with that. That way, you know, from 0 to 100, you're not always at 100 with the stress factor. You bring it down some because you've gone through it, you've experienced it. Because you've done that, your heart rate stays a little bit lower, and you're able to make quicker decisions and unchoppy kind of decisions when you've experienced these things in reality-based scenarios, force-on-force kind of training scenarios. You know, when your firearms training is contained to just the shooting line, well, then that's a problem. You need to have other types of training under your belt. And once you've got the foundations down, once you've been on the shooting line and you've demonstrated that you can shoot the gun and make accurate hits, and you do a little bit of moving around and stuff like that, you need to start in with the reality-based scenarios and marking cartridges and using force-on-force. That is where you start to bring it all together. You validate the things that you've learned, and you start creating those Rolodex pages for your head. That way, in a real life scenario, you come across it, your head's flipping through all these things, and you can stop on several different pages and be like, oh, I've done something like this before. This is what happens. This is what I need to do. And it becomes a lot more natural for you. So without having any training records in front of me, can't say what she has had and what has not have. But this, in my opinion, is an indicator that reality-based training scenarios are needed.
Impact 10, we have medics coming 10, correct?
Can we check it?
I've already talked about all the gloves and stuff in the earlier part of this video. The knife. There's not much else to talk about from her video.
Turn it off.
And then it ends up ending pretty soon when the investigators get there. So that's also a pretty common thing. Once an officer is with another person, like an investigator or a supervisor who's going to be watching over them for the duration of the event after the shooting, that's when the cameras will get turned off. Because police officers still have a right to their Fifth Amendment. And they don't need to be self-incriminating themselves when the camera's turned on. Now, that's not to say that what they were doing is illegal or anything. They still have constitutional protections against self-incrimination. And it's not so much that, like I said, in this, they've done nothing wrong legally. They've done nothing wrong legally against using force on this person. Now, from tactics and stuff like that, I think she did some stuff wrong, didn't take proper cover, discharged her gun improperly. But as far as them using deadly physical force against this guy, I mean, it's cut and dry. This guy, he brought this upon himself and whatnot. But after a use of force shooting, you are under the influence of a drug after a shooting, and that drug's called adrenaline. And you can say some very excited shit under adrenaline. You're not thinking 100% clearly as you are right now watching this video. You're in a cool, calm, collective state. Now, boom, bomb goes off. Your heart rate's up. Your adrenaline and your endorphins are pumping through your body. You're in fight mode, trying to make the same cool, calm, collective, rational decisions that you make right now versus boom, after fight mode turns on. It's not the same. People can make utterances when they're under the influence of adrenaline. They might say some stuff that they wouldn't ordinarily say in a cool, calm, collective state. They might drop some F-bombs. They might say some stuff. They might speak from the cuff, so to speak. And when that's all recorded on video and everyone gets to see it, well, then those things could be twisted around and make it seem as though you're a worse person than what you are. So, for example, this detective, he could be like, oh, so what happened? And, she could be like, that son of a bitch pointed a gun. Well, the defense could take that and run with it and like, oh, this, she called him a son of a bitch. She already felt some kind of way about him. She was already prejudiced against him, blah, 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 blah. So, when you're, like I said, when you're under the influence of adrenaline and the fight mode's on, you don't always say the smartest things. You can certainly act a lot different than what you would sitting on the couch watching TV, being cool, calm. So it's partly why the cameras go off. That way they don't say anything under adrenaline, make some type of excited utterance that they normally wouldn't make, and because they have the right not to self-incriminate, so they don't have to say anything, make any statements in regards to the actions they just took that could hurt them in court later on. So if gangbangers get to enjoy the Fifth Amendment, then the police for sure get to enjoy the benefits of the Fifth Amendment as well. Not much else to say about this video. Pretty clear, cut and dry. Use of force was acceptable. It was needed in my opinion. The driver, I have nothing really truly negative to say about the driver other than him playing with the gear selector with the gun in his hand. The female, I think she needs some remedial training. I really do. I think she needs some more training on firearms. I mean, holding your gun over the door like that and popping rounds off and not looking through your sights, that's a problem. So if you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense, thank you for watching.